Moral debate? That's exactly what happened to this woman when a random kid tried to grab food from her table at the mall, and somehow she ended up being the one accused of being rude. It started out as an ordinary family day. She and her boyfriend were at the mall with their 2 kids, a 5-year-old girl and a 6-year-old boy. They'd just finished shopping and decided to take a break with a bag of roasted chestnuts. You know, one of those little cozy moments, everyone relaxed, laughing, just enjoying a treat together. But then this kid shows up, maybe 10 years old, alone, just kind of hovering nearby, watching them eat. Now, according to her, she's not exactly a fan of random kids, especially ones that aren't hers. But she's polite. She gives him a little smile, thinking he'll walk away. Nope. Instead, the kid calls her son over, whispers something to him, and her son nods yes. That's when she realizes, oh no, this is about the chestnuts. She moves the bag slightly just to guard it and says, no, you have to go ask your parents. Polite, firm, no attitude. Just a boundary. But her boyfriend, for some reason, decides that's too harsh. He picks up a chestnut and hands it to the kid. And she's sitting there thinking, wait, what? She's caught off guard, kind of annoyed, because she doesn't even know this child. No parents around, no permission. And now her boyfriend is just feeding someone else as kid, like it has no big deal. The boy takes it, says nothing, and walks off. Awkward silence. She turns to her boyfriend and says something like, you shouldn't have done that. You don't just give food to someone else's kid. He rolls his eyes. It's just a chestnut. Yeah, but that's not the point. And here's where things start to heat up. A few minutes later, that same kid comes back. But this time, no whispering, no asking. He just reaches into the bag and snatches 2 chestnuts like it's his personal snack bowl. She freezes for half a second, then stands up, not yelling, just firm, and says, sorry, but you can't take our stuff like that. Go to your parents. The kid looks guilty, puts them back, and runs off. Now she's thinking, what on earth is going on here? Because honestly, who just lets their 10-year-old wander around grabbing food from strangers? But her boyfriend isn't on her side. At all. He sighs and says, you didn't have to be so harsh. He's just a kid. And that's when this tiny incident turns into a bigger conversation, one about boundaries, parenting, and completely different views on how to handle strangers. She explains that she's not mad at the boy, she's mad at the situation. She doesn't want her kids growing up thinking it's okay to take things without asking, or that they have to share just because someone else wants something. She says, if we let this slide, our kids might think they have to give up whatever they have just to be polite. Her boyfriend shakes his head. You're overreacting. The kid trusted us because we have children too. That's all. And that line really gets to her. Because trust is one thing, but crossing boundaries is another. Honestly, I get her point. Feeding someone else's child without permission is risky. Allergies, safety, even appearances. But at the same time, I kind of get the boyfriend, too. Some people just act on instinct when a kid looks hungry. Back in the story, she's trying to stay calm, but she can feel the tension building. The air around the table is heavy. The kids are quiet, and she knows they're watching. And this moment isn't just about chestnuts anymore. It's about what kind of lessons their children are learning right now. She says something like, I'm trying to teach them that it's okay to say no. that they don't have to share everything just to avoid being called rude. And honestly, that's such a real parenting dilemma, because you want your kids to be kind, but you also don't want them to be pushovers. The boyfriend just doesn't see it that way. For him, sharing is kindness. For her, it's about consent and respect. And so they end up in this silent standoff, sitting there at the mall while their chestnuts go cold. The next day, she still can't stop thinking about it. She replays the whole thing in her mind, the kid's face, the boyfriend's tone, the uncomfortable silence, and she starts to wonder if she was too harsh. Maybe she could have handled it differently. Maybe she could have explained things more gently. But then again, what if that kid had allergies? What if his parents had shown up later and been furious that some stranger fed their child? It's such a lose-lose situation. And the more she thinks about it, the more she realizes it's not really about that one moment. It's about the difference between how people define good manners. For her, good manners mean not taking something that isn't yours. For her boyfriend, good manners mean sharing what you have. Total opposites. 'Tis funny how the same action, offering food, can look kind to one person and careless to another. That's the beauty and the curse of moral gray areas. The story keeps circling in her head until she posts it online, asking, AITA for not letting a kid eat my food? And that's where the internet explodes. Thousands of comments flood in. Most people side with her, saying she had every right to set a boundary and that the kid was out of line. Some mention how dangerous it can be to give food to someone else's child, especially these days with allergies and safety concerns. But a few people back the boyfriend, saying kindness shouldn't have limits. They argue that it was a small gesture, a sign of generosity, and that maybe she could have handled it with more warmth. It turns into this giant debate. What's more important, being polite or protecting your boundaries? I love stories like this because they show how even the smallest things, a snack, a moment, a decision, can reveal so much about our values. By the end, she still isn't sure if she overreacted. She just knows she doesn't regret standing her ground. Because deep down, she believes that no is an important word, one that even kids should learn early. She wants her children to know that sharing should come from kindness, not pressure, and that setting a boundary doesn't make you selfish, it makes you aware. But she also admits that her boyfriend's reaction opened her eyes. Maybe there's a middle ground, being kind and cautious. Because really, isn't that what parenting is all about? Constantly trying to find that balance between compassion and protection? Personally, I don't think she was the a-hole here. But I do think it's a classic case of different love languages. One person shows love through kindness, the other through boundaries, and both are valid. And honestly, that random kid probably forgot the whole thing 5 minutes later. But for this couple, it turned into a full-on lesson in communication, trust, and the weird ways small moments can expose big differences. So now the question goes to you. Was she being protective or was she just being selfish? What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you love stories that make you think twice about the little things in life, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Because sometimes it's not the big arguments that test a relationship, it's the tiny ones, like a kid and a bag of roasted chestnuts.